Hi everyone, and welcome back to Work and Study Smarter, from student to future barrister. So, some of you who have been subscribed to this channel since the beginning will remember this series. I started this series back in September 2023 when I was in my third year at King's College London. I continued it in 2024, but my last video was in December 2024. I'm going to now explain why. So, the series stopped in 2024 because at the time I had just completed graduating from King's College London, and then I took a year to work on my business called Faith Brynels Insights CIC. In 2025, so last year, I then started the Law Conversion Masters at the University of Law, and that's where we are currently. And I'll be finishing and graduating from that course this year. I'm going on to start bar. So, why am I bringing back the Work and Study Smarter series now in 2026? So, when I first started this series, I was a politics undergraduate, still kind of figuring out my political study methods, how to study politics effectively, how to manage my time, and how to really importantly stay consistent. But, in 2024, as I said, I graduated from King's College London with a 2-1. And then in 2025, I started my Master's in Law conversion at the University of Law. For those who don't know what the MA Law conversion is, it's essentially 3 years undergraduate condensed in 1 year postgraduate, when you're from a non-law background trying to qualify as either a solicitor or a barrister in England and Wales. For me, I'll be a barrister, and so I have to complete this law conversion masters, which really covers important modules such as criminal law, tort law, English legal systems, equity and trusts, and so many more. It also included a very big dissertation, 8,000 words, which I got a distinction on. So I'm really well equipped now to share with you my study skills, first of all, my study methods, and how I stay organized. So, where we are now in April 2026, I have started my Master's Law conversion, as I said. I'm going to be graduating from that very soon, with final exams taking place in May. So, I'm in a completely different position now than when I first started this series. So, some of you will be aware of the podcast. The podcast is now called Faith Brynel Talks Law, was formerly called Faith Brynels Insights. So, let's talk about it then. So, essentially, what this series is going to entail is how to get a distinction in your dissertation, how to get a 2-1. I also got first in several modules at King's College London. I can talk about that. How to write essay subjects, how to stay organized, how to conduct legal research, political research, undergraduate versus postgraduate, prepping for university. I'm also going to launch a series on prepping for university around prepping for uni undergraduate compared to postgraduate. I can talk about that moving away. As I said, I moved from Birmingham to London in 2020, and I lived in London until 2023. So I'm sure you can imagine transitioning into postgraduate legal study is different from an undergraduate political approach. And you've got to really pivot, not panic. And that's our mantra of the podcast. So the podcast comes out every Sunday, and this particular series will come out every Tuesday. Every Tuesday at 12 p.m, this kind of series will launch a new video. And we're kicking off now with season 2 of the Work and Study Smarter series. So when you're postgraduate, as you can imagine, the workload increases. As I said, my master's now is 3-year undergraduate condensed in 1 year. So not only is it intense, but you're expected to be ready to put yourself into it, adapting and pivoting to the differences between political and legal research. Now, some of you might be a little bit interested in the course that I'm on. So I'm going to share some information on the law master's conversion in this episode as to what course I'm currently doing, because I think it's really important for you guys to understand the course I'm on in case any of you are actually interested in it. Quite a few of you have asked me via LinkedIn and via social media a little bit about, about the course, the differences between the GDL and the graduate diploma in law. Essentially, the differences is simple, really. The main differences is essentially that the GDL you can't get funding for unless you go to an Inn of Court or other, but the Masters you can get funding from student finance, and that's what I did. And so in my university prep series, I'll talk about prepping for university, and not just academically, which is key, emotionally, that's mentally, but also financially. How are you going to pay for accommodation? How are you going to pay for very important things such as your groceries, your transport, stuff like that, your living costs, and what do you need to do? Grant funding available, and so on and so forth. So yeah, essentially, as I've explained where I've been, I had to focus on my studies, but now I'm back now with a distinction in my dissertation, and I'm waiting for some of the results of my other modules. But essentially, I can now talk to you a bit more about the postgraduate shift, especially also the shift from politics into law. What else did I write down I wanted to share with you? So yeah, I think really you have to now evolve from studying. It's that dichotomy between studying smarter and studying harder. You've got to study smarter to save your time and your energy and prevent burnout. You've got to take effective notes. You've got to try different study techniques instead of mastering one. Sometimes the material might require you to study differently. So in the University of Law conversion, sometimes we have oral exams, or we have coursework, or we have exams. So everything requires for me a different study strategy use. Basically it's literally like a multiple choice quiz, but sometimes the answers are all correct. Hence why it's called single best answer questions. So you've got to again pivot and not panic there as well. But work and study smarter. And studying law is not necessarily about how much you do, it's about your structure, your application of knowledge under pressure, and that requires discipline, consistency, and not just motivation. Motivation is like you have to always want to do it. Discipline says, well, even if I don't want to do it, I push beyond the fray and I do it anyway. So I'm bringing this series back, but not just as a student trying things out. I'm now bringing this back called Work and Study Smarter from Student to Future Barrister. And this series is going to be focused on what actually works at this level. Now, I know the podcast is a legal podcast. Don't worry, this is not just legal content. This is for anybody who needs any study tips. You could be studying geography, politics, history, law, business, whatever it is, you can get your tips from here. Because it is, those transferable study skills tips. Just like if you work as a barista to barrister like I did, these are transferable skills tips. So this episode is going to be launched every Tuesday at 12 p.m. And I'll put some social media out on it as well. So just to conclude this very brief episode, teaser episode, I'll be sharing how to study for distinction over work, structuring problem questions and essays. Don't despair. It will include undergraduate and postgraduate tips as well, and how to differentiate the two, because you're working at level 7 in postgrad, how to stay disciplined and consistent, how to align everything, how I'm aligning everything I do with becoming a barrister, but how you can align everything you do with your future goals and aspirations, so you can take some stuff vis-a-vis from me there. So it's not just about studying and sitting down at a desk, which is nice. It's about that progression. So who is this for? This series is for you if you are studying law or any subject, at undergraduate level, and you want to perform at a higher level. So you could be studying business, law, politics, history, geography, and you want to get better grades and you want to perform at a higher level. You feel like you're putting in effort, but you're not seeing the results. And I've been there, as I said. Or if you want to approach your studies with structure and purpose, because that's what this series is all about. So if you're serious about studying with purpose, this series is for you. So what I'm going to quickly do is just share with you my screen. I'm just going to share with you my course. So you guys, if anybody's interested in doing the Law Conversion Masters, this is the Law Conversion Masters, as you'll see. As you can see here, it's a large community of postgraduate law students, and it's for those who have come from a non-law background, to be a solicitor, it says here, or a barrister. You've got your entry requirements here. As I said, I got a 2-1, so you need a 2-2 or above. You can do full-time and part-time. There's a little bit of information there. You can put your information out. This episode is not sponsored, but I am a University of Law ambassador, so I may as well share with you the wonderful courses that the University of Law offers. So if you're serious about studying with purpose, studying with consistency, studying smarter and not harder, and performing consistently at a higher level in any of your disciplines, a graduate or postgraduate or even doctorate, this series is for you. So I'll see you in the next episode. Bye, everybody.